Hello everyone, this is my presentation about fascism. So, fascism. Its origins begin in Italy and Switzerland with a young socialist. You might know him. His name is Mussolini, as you can see by the picture over here, before he went full bald mode. So he attempts to overthrow the Swiss government. He gets arrested, sent back to Italy, then they set him free again, and repeat cycle. So then eventually when he gets back to Italy the second time, he's forced into military service, and he joins the Italian Socialist Party. But as his observations grow more radical, he goes from anti-war to pro-war because the World War I might create the social conditions for a socialist revolution. Since everyone else is anti-war, he gets kicked out. So then he's just like, nope, I'm done with this, and he decides Italy needs to unite based on race without class divisions and conquer the Mediterranean. He then overthrows the prime minister and installs himself at the center of the state, calling himself Ildus. So this entire thing, his ideology is what we now call fascismo or fascism. So what is fascism? In essence, it's a nationalistic, race-based ideology in which everyone of a superior race crushes all other inferior races, like Polish people, dominating the world. It is also heavily focused on a strong godlike despot with full authority, who people worship through a cult of personality, like Stalin, even though he wasn't a fascist. And is generally spread through propaganda and societal restructuring. And it also has a tight control of business under state, and it also kind of believes in utopianism, in their own way. So okay, generally people put it far right on the political spectrum, but as you can see here, it really isn't much of a spectrum because it also borrows things from the left, like a strict control of business by the state. Because at one point the Soviet Union and fascist states are basically doing the same thing. So at that point you can't even tell what's what. So I have a little clip for you that basically sums up this entire thing. Wait, where's the volume?
Wait, I think I have to turn it up
Give the
here.
computer there, now behind a book. It's sad. I'm sad. I miss you.
Yeah, so that basically represents what everyone feels like at this time. So ultimately the main reason for the rise of fascism was the really terrible political and economic conditions and sheer incompetence by the Allies after World War II. So everyone was basically mad because they didn't get what they wanted. Italy did not get what it wanted, territories in Trieste and Croatia. And the German Empire was destroyed, and I miss it. The Soviet Union may be on the map, but the German Empire is in my heart. So it was completely destroyed by the Treaty of Versailles after only being a country for 41 years. They were really scared of Germans growing so powerful in a short amount of time compared to England, who had been a country for hundreds of years. And Japan was forced to yield captured territory because of racism. So that's fun. So all this entire amalgamation of societal unrest and anger at everyone around them leads to foreign governments rising, fascist governments rising all over Europe. So, fascism, Spanish edition. So arguably, Spain wasn't really that fascist. It was and that's kind of why it was the longest lasting, because it wasn't really focused on expanding its borders or killing people of no, it did kill a bunch. They did kill a bunch of Muslims and other people, but generally they didn't really kill that many people and completely restructure Spanish society. So yeah, it was essentially drawn from the unrest of World War I and the Spanish Civil War of 1936. But overall, it wasn't too bad if you ignore the millions of people he killed.
Who?
Sorry, Franco.
Okay.
I probably should mention that. So, fascismo, with a side of incompetence. That's what that says in Italian. So, despite inventing fascism, Mussolini's Italy was literally the most incompetent mess you've ever seen. And they did what they did in World War I and switched sides when they were about to lose. So, yeah, they did start with dismantling democratic systems like the Parliament and Supreme Court, and they entered with the Pact of Steel with Germany and soon Japan as well.
Oh, it's not again. It's
Reconnected.
Oh, how? Alright. It frankly lived in Germany's shadow for most of the war. It attempted to imitate concentration camps, but it really wasn't as organized. It was just disorderly violence. They just killed some Slavic people And yeah, it ended in 1944. It only lasted like 20, 30 years before the Americans and the Brits took over. So, the glorious fatherland, Germany. So, just before we go through this, I'm going to show you a clip that basically demonstrates how effective Germany was under fascism and how like militarily strong it was, at least. Like, how do you make it like?
You can't. It's okay.
No, I did that last time.
Yeah, click on that. Yes.
It doesn't work.
It's okay. Just play it.
Just go to YouTube. So yeah. Wow, this is great. This is great. Lovely. Lovely. Just. God. Everything all right? All right. So anyway, well, these are some interesting YouTube things. All right. There we go. Okay, so basically, it was the greatest fascist state of all time. I mean, not to say that it was good, but like in terms of power, and it was immensely effective and coordinated the Holocaust, and you know they desired to create a pure Aryan race through it, which was kind of ironic considering Hitler had Jewish ancestry and he didn't have blonde hair or blue eyes. But that's besides the point. All citizens must essentially be incredibly loyal and physically adept. Not really smart though, so they don't question anything. You know, they rewrote pretty much all of German history, erasing some of the actual great things that they did. And they preyed on people's fears to take power, thus killing 11 million innocent people in just 10 years. Overall, best/worst fascist state, depending on how you look at it. And just to demonstrate his greatness, you can see this picture of Adolf Hitler over here looking great. So, so now we can talk about Japan. Although it supported Germany, it wasn't technically fascist. It was kind of just like a rehashing of like the original imperialist system of Japan, although albeit a little more totalitarian. You know, they did consider themselves racially superior, and rather than full fascist. And this thing down here is actually a poem or a saying dedicated to the emperor. Basically, no matter what happens, we'll gladly give up our lives for you, our great emperor. So yeah. So fascism, yay or nay? Although it does have some good points.
Next slide.
I did.
I think it's lagging.
All right. Okay, so yay or nay? It greatly it was really good at strengthening like countries that were basically just
Reconnected.
One more time. Yeah.
Okay, so make this go away.
Just leave
It's
it.
okay.
Okay, so it essentially strengthened a bunch of destroyed countries like Germany, and it gave people a genuine sense of meaning and purpose. But you know, it's inherently racist, built on totalitarianism, and killed millions of innocents without any personal freedom for the individual or people left. So, fascist fun facts, or as I like to call it, triple F time. So, basically, the bundle of sticks you saw earlier in the presentation represents the strength of a people united, and was carried by Roman. It was actually carried by Roman sentries to the emperor, and you know Hitler was an angry mustache model, as you can see by these great side shots, and he was actually vegetarian and pro animal rights and against drugs. So he actually did some good things, which I have to admit. Yeah, Mussolini was admired as a sex symbol, and yeah, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.